still here, everybody. Welcome back to E309 Live. Now, the first installment of Mafia took place during the era of Prohibition.
Yeah, I still don't understand how people functioned back then. I mean, how did they work up the courage to, beat their loved ones?
I'm sure they found a way out.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they did. Mafia 2 leaps into the future about a decade or two. It's a time when cars had big fins and girls had poodle skirts and alcohol was nice and legal-like. It's another G4 world premiere, hands-on.
All right, joining us for this hands-on look at Mafia 2 is producer Denby Grace. Thank you so much for coming on and bringing a game I have been waiting for quite some time. Obviously, the first Mafia came out way back in 2002, and it really was something of a revelation back then. It was an open world game that had very, very tight combat controls.
Absolutely.
Looks like you've jumped forward. Is this tied into the first game in any way?
So no, Mafia 2 is a completely new story. It's kind of set in 2K Czech's version of America, It's set in a new city called Empire Bay. We've actually moved time sort of 15 years forward from the end of the last game. So the start of the game is February 1945. And the actual game, it spans 10 years of this guy, Vito Scaletta's life. So it's an epic tale, And we end somewhere in the mid-50s. So we cross 2 different decades, so it's really nice sort of, well, it's a lengthy thing. It's an epic game, like you'd expect from these films, I guess.
Well, how big is this town or the city of Empire City in comparison to like Lost Heaven?
So Empire Bay is about twice the size of Lost Heaven. It's 10 square miles approximately. It features sort of 20 different neighborhoods, whether that be Little Italy, Chinatown, downtown areas, and also it has like 100 plus interactive indoor locations. And we're going to show one of those today, But we have things like diners, shops, clothes shops, all the stuff you'd expect from a sort of sandbox game.
That's what I love about Mafia. So many games promise an open world experience, but it's really just closed off building facades that you can drive by, and in your game, you run right inside and the game just goes, right?
Absolutely. 2K Czech have done some wondrous things with their technology. Once the game's loaded, when you first sit down, there's no loading for the player, whether it be to cutscene, out of cutscene, into interiors, And you're going to see the interiors that we're seeing today, they're hugely destructive. For an open world game, they really are impressive, They feature these massively destructible environments, hugely detailed, lots of props and objects all around, And that we think we're doing something really, really unique for open world gaming in this way.
Now, like I said, you guys really brought strong combat controls into the open world game back in 2002.
Sure.
Much has happened since then. What have you done to kind of keep pace and maybe make an advancement in terms of combat?
So, well, the big thing is, obviously, that you're going to see is we're using a cover system. It's just the way things are done now for a third-person game, So it's aimed like the natural thing to do. It allows us to do the combat that we want to do. Our combat is heavily choreographed, We're not going to throw 200 enemies at you throughout the game, because that's just not real. One of our big mantras is a realistic feeling game, And as such, you'll have 20 baddies, henchmen, who are really, really good. Them themselves use cover, So the combat itself is really heavily choreographed, but it makes for really, really great set pieces.
So
these real dynamic things.
No wave after wave of bad guys coming out of a broom closet or anything like
absolutely.
that.
Well, actually, one section we can see here is as the guys are coming up this elevator here, there's going to be there's like a big set piece here, actually. I'm filling for time where we...
here we
the
are.
guy's like shooting holes through this door, We have like dynamic objects.
Oh, you get the bottles going right off the top.
So you see, and then the guy's like having this big... They're like blocked in this gap by these Tommy guys.
And chunks of the pillars blown away. Everything seems to be pretty dynamic in this world.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my question, is there something really magic about Pilsner in the Czech Republic? Because this is an amazing piece of tech that you're working with. I mean, what are the various things that they have under the hood that are making this happen?
So it's a completely a proprietary engine that 2K Czech use. We use a big physics engine, and like I said, I've always talked about the physical objects. The streaming is really cool, and also it's really, really good looking. We're pushing around really high quality textures, and the big thing is the streaming technology. It's the impressive thing. It's the thing that the gamer themselves are going to notice. And the whole thing about the building the technology, we wanted the gamers to benefit. We didn't do anything that was unnecessary. We don't want to float our own egos. We just want to be able to deliver the experience that we envisage Mafia 2 being.
And what is this? I mean, we're living out, you said 10 years of this guy's life here. What is his life? What's his existence?
So Vito Scaletta, he's an Italian immigrant who's born in America. He's from a very, very poor upbringing, and the whole story is sort of a buddy movie sort of thing. It's about Vito and his childhood friend Joe. And Vito's like I said, he's come from a poor upbringing. His father's left his mother in a lot of debt. He's just returned from the war, and he vows to wipe out his mother's debt. And Mama wants him to get an honest job. Of course she does.
Of course.
But Joe, like anybody can relate to this, Joe is the childhood friend that's going to lead you astray.
Right.
He's like, what? We can work for these. We can earn some decent money. And so then this naturally pulls pulls Vito towards a life of organised crime.
That's what I did to Kevin, just so you know.
I was a good boy until Adam came along in my life, and he showed me the fun of a firefight.
Yeah.
And I've been doused in blood. So yes, thank you for that, Adam.
Yes, I'm
obviously you're a mobster in this game, though, so constantly outrunning everybody that wants to kill you and the police as well, I'm assuming?
Yeah, sure. So at the start of the game, Vito's a nobody as far as the Mafia is concerned. He has no aspirations to become the Don or anything like that, but as the game progresses, he becomes a made man, and he's hired by the mob to carry out these things. You know, he's got to return the favours that he took at the start of the game. You know, everyone knows about Mafia folklore. So, but as well as that, the police at the start of the game, they're an annoyance. You know, they're after this guy. Like I said, he's a nobody. As we progress through the game, though, naturally the police, they're on the payroll. You can call these guys up, call them off. You know, it's a nice touch, and it advances the gameplay. I know the police in Mafia 1, for instance, they were maybe a little bit aggressive.
Well, they had that nice confused look on their face.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything confused about how cool this game looks. And it is coming out early next year.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, great. Thank you so much. It really is.
Dan, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.